As you know, we are wrapping up a 4-part series. And if you don't know, go back to the last 3 episodes and catch yourself up because today's episode is all about the harmonious leader. Finding harmony in leadership and what that really means. Let's put some definition to this concept and really dive into the 3 episodes that led to now, this episode, putting a bow on the mystical and the practical, the external and the internal, and how to bring it all together and why that matters. So I was recently at a speaking event where I was speaking, and in that event, one of the attendees brought a topic of conversation up that I felt you all would really benefit from and enjoy. And the topic is this concept of confidence, decision, and really what happens as leaders when that starts to break down. But before I go there, I want to put some definition around harmony. As leaders, we are excellent achievers, right? We're doing it all externally. And what we find over time is that as we exert ourselves, as we achieve, and as we set the bar higher, and as we explore our next levels and go there, the question of fulfillment is always on the table. And I'm so passionate about this conversation around achievement and fulfillment, right? This conversation around the importance and frankly requirement of fulfillment first, and then freedom comes, right? And freedom, the distinction there is by way of the achievement, and they go hand in hand. And it's my opinion, I'm going to say that different. It's my opinion that we have been misled as leaders. Leadership has been taught in a one-dimensional framework. And it's time to really step into the truth that we all are multidimensional leaders. There are facets to us that all have to come together, not just for our success externally, but to be overjoyed and fulfilled in the process. And so I'd like to take the word harmony with you for a moment and define that in the way I'd like to define that. Harmony in leadership is the place where the inner world and the outer world collide and align. And it's the place where your true expression is fully expressed outside. In other words, the real you, the true you, is fully expressed to the world. And if you reflect for a moment, I can confidently tell you that the places in your life when you have felt burnt out, when you have felt that your energy is just not aligned, I can confidently say that it is because you were not being the true you expressed into the world. That is harmony. That is harmony in leadership, is when our true selves are fully expressed into the world and there isn't a fragmentation or disconnection between the two. This matters because as we go through different levels, seasons, reasons in life, the parts that are true in us have to be expressed and honored along the way. What I mean by that is in leadership, what's really fascinating is, I'm going to say that differently. In leadership, what can happen is you've been achieving and pursuing a goal a certain way for a certain amount of time. And a lot of things can get stuck in the process if you're in a different season or reason where the reason why you want to achieve this is different. Your why has shifted, but you're still trying to fit in the same box you always have. That really creates an issue with harmony. In other words, there's a disharmony happening when your truth of who you are today is not how you're expressing yourself in the external world. And that's important to kick off today's episode with, because if we really lean into this idea of The truth is you are a multidimensional leader. The truth is that you're not just about the external results, but you're about that internal fulfillment. We have to look at, where is the intersection of harmony? What pieces need to come together for us to live this harmonious life and lead and impact and change externally, right? Be that change agent in our lives, for our businesses, and what we're doing in the external world. And so, taking you back to the event that I started this episode with, one of the attendees had brought up this conversation around harmony, right? And around this idea of seeking harmony, seeking this place where some people describe it as balance. But I really believe that as leaders, what we're seeking in those moments where we feel empty, where we feel lack, where we feel like, I know there's something more, I can't put my finger on it. When we're seeking that next level, or maybe we're redefining what success means to us. That's what a lot of our clients go through that attend SoulCharge and go through our SoulCharge programs, is they're so successful. They have achieved incredible things, but it's time for them to redefine what success looks like. Like, maybe success means working less and earning more. Maybe it means really leaning into trusting team and hiring those areas that you need support in, that's different in this season than last season. It's this intersection of what's true for you today is different than what it used to be. And it's going to be different again going forward in the future. And it really comes down to this idea of permission, giving yourself permission to lean into redefining and reimagining what's next for you in your life. But this intersection of harmony really needs to be, I'm going to say this different. The intersection of harmony is so important, because if there is anything in your life right now that's going on, you can bring it back to this point I'm making with you today, right? You can bring it back to, if there is something that feels misaligned, if this version of the business isn't jiving or something's not clicking, it is because who you truly are is not being fully expressed. And if you use this first point as a tool, it's going to help you so much to check yourself and go, what part of me is ready to be expressed? What part of me is ready to be unapologetic? What part of me is ready to go out swinging for the fences on my vision in a different way to achieve maybe what you've been after this entire time? You just were playing by someone else's rules, limiting a part of yourself, holding a part of yourself back, maybe had a belief that only portions of yourself were allowed to come out in the business. Harmony. The harmonious leader is expressing themselves, their truest self, their real self, their whole self in the world, in the world, and leaning into that completely. And so, going back to this participant, one of the things that was the topic of discussion was this idea around confidence and decision making. And a lot of times what can happen over time in the pursuit of, achieving a worthy goal is the decision making leads to failure. Something happens, you fail, and then you stop trusting yourself, right? And you stop leaning in as much because you're like, okay, I'm making these decisions, they're not going well. Something's wrong with me. I'm missing the mark. I'm failing. And that affects the confidence. And so the next piece of bringing this all together at this intersection of the harmonic leader is a tool that I want to present to you. And in your mind, what I want you to think about is this triangle. And if you have the ability to take note on this, it's super powerful. This triangle is made up of 3 points: confidence, trust, and decision. The triangle, again, is confidence, trust, and decision. And these 3 points are so important. And if we think about this idea of our truest self being expressed into the world, our confidence, our decisions, and trusting ourselves are absolutely critical to be in our full expression. Because I know I've had many times in my career and leadership journey, and I'm sure you have too, where you've made decisions and you've failed again. And after so many times, after so many things don't add up, don't go the right way, it can cause mistrust, distrust. What's the right word here? It can cause an issue in trusting yourself, which then makes it so your decisions can go more so into indecision. You can find yourself hesitating, procrastinating, maybe postponing. And bringing it back to this trifecta or this triangle, they're all linked so closely together, and it's a powerful combination when you can harness the truth and power of clarity on all three of these things. And so let's talk about decision first. So, decision and quick decision as leaders is something we are taught to do quickly, right? Don't sit in indecision. It's a decision game. It's all about how fast can you make decisions, of course, with the right amount of data, with the right amount of consideration, right? But really, when we get caught up in the how and the why and the details of decisions as visionary leaders, that can get us caught up. And so when you think about decision here, what I want you to think about is yes, your everyday decisions, but to also think about the things where you postpone or you procrastinate, and think about a couple of those maybe situations. Maybe there are recent situations current going on in your life, or maybe it's something past where you're like, gosh, I was really struggling with this decision and then it just popped and we were to the races. But just think about that as I explain this. So a lot of people out there think that, confidence comes first. And I really believe that decision is the thing that comes first. And that's why I'm talking about it first with this triangle conversation. Is decision comes first because you have to decide and own the fact that you are a badass. You don't have to go earn that. There isn't enough confidence in the world that you could go earn certifications, degrees, all of those things that could earn you the confidence that's available for you if you own the truth that you are a complete and total badass. There is a decision that you can make. And I want to talk about decision first because that's if you choose that to be your foundation, it is the most powerful anchor that you can anchor into and really say and check yourself. How am I moving through the world with my decisions? Do I find myself in certain categories of life and business? I hesitate more, or I poll the audience. I ask for feedback. I ask what other people think. That is telling you an area where going up in the triangle, maybe you don't trust yourself, or maybe there is a confidence issue because decisions in the past have not gone the way that you think they should have, or you failed in some way. And so it's affecting your ability to trust yourself and thus affecting your confidence. So you can see very quickly how the image of this triangle of decision, trust, and confidence is so intertwined. And so let's talk about confidence for a moment. I love confidence. And in SoulCharge, one of our core values is certitude. And the reason that I chose that is because I believe that confidence is more about an attitude of certainty than it is about going out and building things and experiencing different experiences and building that experience. And then that's your confidence. In other words, your confidence is contingent upon the thing out there. I think that confidence comes more from owning your power and the decision to do so than it is about going out and working in the world to build the confidence. Now, let's be clear, those things add to your resume, right? They add to your toolkit, they add to your tool belt, but it isn't the definition of you. And I feel like that's why certitude is one of my favorite words and why it's one of our core values, because it's accessible to you just by deciding, I am going to move through the world with an attitude of certainty. And so, confidence in the context of this triangle is it a lot of times becomes a contingency game. In other words, our confidence gets affected by our decisions, right? And a lot of times, if we're not trusting ourselves, we aren't acting in our certitude. We're not moving through the world. Okay, hold on. I got to get a drink. We're not moving through the world with, okay, I lost where I was. Hold on. We're not moving through the world in full power, because what's happening is that each leg of this triangle, let me say that each point on the triangle is contingent upon the other. So if our confidence is lacking, that means we're not trusting ourselves, which means our trust in others is being affected, which is impacting our decisions because we're really valuing other people's feedback or evidence in the world or evidence from the past as the definition of our confidence. You see? So it's confidence fuels trust, fuels decision, fuels confidence, right? It's this really interesting triangle. And it's an opportunity for all of us as leaders to take a hard look at this and to really go, wow, these are all connected in a really cool way. That if I start to harness my decision, right, and I go, you know what? Of course I failed. Of course things haven't gone the way that I think they should. I'm going to decide anyway, right? I'm going to lean into that decision and make it. And really be conscious of the fact that when I decide something, there is an energy that is behind that decision that is different than if I am hesitating in a decision. And so the first thing is ask yourself, how am I showing up when I make decisions? Do I notice that I'm hesitant or tiptoeing, or like I was saying earlier, polling the audience, asking for feedback? Or am I so freaking convicted in my decision that it's done on some level because I am bringing that energy, that embodiment to the table of I have decided and it is done. So that's the first piece. Going into trust is trusting ourselves as leaders, especially if there has been a phase of things not working out, or a low point in the business, or a transition in the business, a new season in the business. Trust can absolutely be affected. And what's really interesting about trusting ourselves is that what tends to happen in the leaders that I work with is that as trust is affected with self, it absolutely mirrors in the organization so fast and can turn into a really, really toxic situation if not caught quickly. And so checking yourself and asking, where am I not trusting myself? And where do I find that I have no issue trusting myself? Because the awareness of the areas where there is no issue, it is done. Those areas, something is happening. You're showing up differently. You're being someone different in those areas than the areas where maybe you avoid the decision, you avoid the conversation, right? You avoid something about the situation. That's where there is this belief, likely, right? This belief that trusting yourself to show up powerfully in the areas where you might be avoiding or, postponing whatever sort of procrastination is playing out. Really, being avoidant is just the internal representation of procrastination. But when you find yourself delaying and showing up in that way, it's really this opportunity to lean in and to uncover this truth that you have this opportunity to grow and trust yourself in that particular area in a whole new way. And what I mean by that is, if you find yourself not trusting in a certain thing. And I'll give you an example. It's like if you have a big vision or you're, pressing to, multiply, whether it's revenues or production of the business, whatever you're after right now, it's very easy to get lost in the how. It's very easy to disconnect from the vision, right? And get more in the how and get more in the actual steps and the practicality of how do we make this all work. And then that in and of itself turns into a whole boat of procrastination. And in that example, trusting yourself is fully committing yourself to the outcome, to the vision, and not allowing the how to get you derailed. It's so easy. It happens for all of us. And it happens especially, when you're leading a team of people to deploy the vision. It's super easy to get into the how because a lot of times they're really good at the how and that's how they're processing the world, and they ask you questions and it's easy for you to drop down into that. And so bringing this back to trust is those areas that you find yourself maybe avoiding or delaying. Leaning in really looks like, what is the immediate, obvious action that I can take now? And can you see that by taking that actually establishes a level of trust and, frankly, safety with self that may be missing or may have been damaged because of past events? And so, bringing it back to the triangle once again, if you move through the world with the conscious awareness of decision, trust, and confidence, the invitation here in this awareness is to stop making those things contingent upon one another and to start actually seeing that they are all integrated and they must all be integrated. Because if one of these is off, it affects the others. It absolutely affects your ability to make decisions if your confidence is jacked up. If your confidence is jacked up, it's because you're not trusting yourself. And you can see very quickly how this unfolds and can be detrimental. And so, taking this triangle of decision, trust, and confidence, and tying it into this harmonious leader, right? This intersection of your truest expression in the world is the harmony that you're looking for. Your full expression of who you are and what you want and how you want to create it and the way you want to create it that's uniquely designed for you and your passions. It's like that intersection of your expression being the true you is possible by this triangle of decision, trust, and confidence. Because your decision to play full out is only supported by trusting yourself, and that's creating that confidence. And when we think about harmony, right, we think about this place of achievement and fulfillment. We think about this place of purpose and passion, this place of achievement and alignment. It's so clear that it's about harmony, right? That's what we're chasing here, guys. That's what this is about. That's what we're seeking. That's the emptiness we're feeling. If you're this high achieving powerhouse and you find yourself feeling empty or lost in the midst of your success, it's because there is a lack of harmony. There's a part of you that's ready to be expressed. There's a part of you that is ready to change. And it's time to make your business and life reflect that. And so, my hope with this episode is that this gives you concrete tools of this concept of harmonious leadership, concrete tools that brings it all together when I talk about the practical and the mystical merging and being expressed in the world, because your leadership is multifaceted. You are not one dimensional. You are beautiful and messy and complicated and simple and direct and passive. Like, you're all of it. That's the beauty of duality. That's us as humans, right? But being able to put words to it and understand, wow, that's part of what's been missing is we've been talking about leadership and success and achievement one dimensionally. And it is time to own the fact that we are multidimensional beings. We are multidimensional leaders. We are multifaceted. And it's time to integrate the parts of us that are meant to be integrated, the parts of us that are passionate, right? And want to be on purpose. The parts of us that maybe have the desire to have a huge business and be strategic on how much time is invested ourselves in it and align ourselves with incredible support and team to support that vision. Whatever is true for you is meant to be expressed. This is your permission slip. This is your permission slip to not settle for anything less than harmony.